Hey, what's up? Welcome to the 13th episode of Movie Dumpster. We're talking about House of the Dead from 2003, directed by Uwe Boll. I'm Joel Escola.
I'm Sean O'Rourke.
I'm Connor Graw.
Welcome to the Dumpster.
No, I don't think so.
Excuse me?
I said forget it.
Yeah, forget it. Forget it. That means stop talking, start walking.
Why?
Why? Why? Why? They always ask why.
You know what they call this island? Isla del Muerte.
Muerte. That's Spanish for death. In case you don't speak Mexican.
So do we want to do a quick talk about Uwe Boll before we dive into this fucking unmitigated disaster? Because I feel like people need to know who he is.
Yes. Let's brief the people on his
filmography, if you want to call it. Uwe Boll is the worst director of all time. That's my bold statement.
No, he's not the worst director of all time. He's just not. He is the most consistently bad director of all time.
Well, I think through his intentions, it makes him the worst. Because I think, Ed Wood is kind of lovably looked upon, and Tommy Wiseau is now accepted as this wacko celebrity who will show up and do seemingly anything, even if he might be a vampire.
Well, Uwe Boll also, continuously will stand there and say that his movies are amazing, and you're a fool if you say otherwise.
He has gone on record to call Michael Bay a quote-unquote a fucking retard. He loves to use that word, by the way, and I would sit through Michael Bay's entire career of film before I ever sat through, Blood Rain. Yeah, I mean,
Uwe said that, and then, later on was like, oh, I was joking around, but, he's always had this, attitude about himself, in interviews and documentaries.
He's way up his own ass.
And he pulls stunts challenging film critics to boxing matches, but then kind of withholds the information that he's a trained boxer. So he gets critics in the ring, and they're like, I can take this old man. And then he lays a whooping on him. They're like, what the fuck happened?
I mean, he looks pretty built, honestly.
He is. He looks like a strong guy. I wouldn't want to fight him. I challenge you to the boxing match. I don't know how to box. You're crazy.
Don't make fun of my movies. They're very important.
I'm going to punch you in your fucking face now. Here we go.
Uwe Boll has long since retired, and it was after 3 failed Kickstarter attempts. One was through Indiegogo, and 2 were through Kickstarter. And the movies, I think, were Postal 2 and Rampage 3, because he has his own movies called Rampage.
Yeah, have you seen the trailers for these Rampage movies? I don't know, just a little aside here. They look fucking crazy.
Well, Postal and Rampage are supposed to be his most ambitious work, because there's the general consensus is he's trying to say something, he just sucks at saying anything.
As we'll find out through House of the Dead.
Yeah, I watched the trailer. I don't know if it was the one from the Kickstarter to Connor, or if it was one for the original Rampage film that he did. But it's literally a guy in full Army of Two body armor going around. He's like, the rich need to pay. The government has failed us. We need to kill them. And he's walking around with 2 fucking machine guns in his hands, just blowing away at office workers.
Oh my god.
Yeah, and in Postal, he attacks the government, he attacks Hollywood, he attacks movie rules and stereotypes, but he does it in the most unsubtle and fumbly way. I think Postal opens with a 9/11 joke. Not even a subtle 9/11 joke, a 4-minute long 9/11 joke.
Wasn't that a video game too?
Postal was a video game that came out in the late 90s that got notoriety. It's not even that good of a game. It's a top-down shooter, but it's just a game where you go around, you shoot up the entire neighborhood. And it was banned in 26 countries, and that's what they used to advertise the game. Postal 2 is kind of funny, but kind of stupid. You can throw a cow head at people and pee on them. You can throw anthrax bombs at people. You can cuss at people. All the villains are Al-Qaeda and book extremists and video game censors.
And then there's House of the Dead.
Dude, these are some of my favorite light gun games. Just being a big fan of horror and stuff like that. I mean, I grew up on House of the Dead.
Yeah, me too. I put an insane amount of quarters into the House of the Dead machine at Ocean County College in New Jersey.
Or even on the boardwalk. I remember when they got the House of the Dead 3 fucking arcade, where you sit down in the it's like a
little booth.
Yeah, it's like a little booth. You like sit inside it, and there's like a fucking machine gun in there.
And my friend had it for House of the Dead 2 for Dreamcast, and we played that game to death. And we always laugh at the dialogue because it's horrendous.
Yeah, well, you're not there for the dialogue, you know what I mean?
No. Suffer like G did.
Reload!
Honestly, I was waiting for that sound effect to creep its way into the movie.
I mean, it nearly did. So before we wrap up Uwe Boll, I want to say he posted a video of talking about his 3 failed Kickstarter campaigns, and he retires classically. No, he doesn't. He ends with a tirade of fuck yous and name calling, and he calls out Hollywood, and he says, "Oh, you want to spend $6,000 in the next Marvel Avengers bullshit? Well, fuck you. I have enough money to play golf until I'm dead." And that's where he ended it, and we haven't seen him since.
Yeah, I mean, good for him, man. Like, he made a bunch of bad films that got a lot of people on the internet mad, and he fucking laughed all the way to the bank.
Yeah, well, it should be noted that all of his movies were profitable because of some German tax loophole. So, like I said, he's a snake oil salesman.
No, for sure. Like, if he tried to pull that shit in the States, like, it would have never worked. No, he would have got away with 1, and that would have been it.
But let's be honest, Joe. They made 6 Resident Evil movies.
In the U.S.
That's my point. I think Uwe Boll could have made some of these movies in the U.S. That's all I'm saying.
Well, fuck you. Fuck Paul Anderson. Fuck the Resident Evil movies, because those are fucking garbage, too. And whoever pays for a fucking Resident Evil movie, go fuck yourself, okay?
Joe's very passionate about this subject.
I'm just gonna throw that right out there. Fuck you, because I love Resident Evil, and it's like, these aren't good movies, and they're not good Resident Evil movies. So fuck you.
No, they get by just lifting scenes and concepts from the games wholesale and then just putting their own silly twist on them.
This is something we can revisit at a later time.
I know. It's just aggravating. Because you want to know why? Like, this movie could have been good, but it's not.
House of the Dead? No.
Yes, it. What are you talking about?
I don't think if you're adapting this in the game, I don't think there's enough material to adapt into a film.
There's plenty.
Oh, are you're saying if somebody else basically took that House of the Dead concept and did it differently? You're not saying that this actual movie could have been good.
I'm saying that if Paul Anderson did a House of the Dead series, I would enjoy them.
I'm not even talking about Paul Anderson. I'm just saying in general, like, yeah, maybe somebody could have done something good, but this movie...
I'm saying, like, instead of Paul picking up the Resident Evil series, like, if he picked up the House of the Dead series, I would actually kind of like those movies. I'd be like, oh, there's no plot, who gives a fuck, but they're entertaining to watch. This, on the other hand, is not entertaining to watch. It's a chore to watch.
Yeah, this movie, let's just dive into it.
Yeah, here we go.
Are we diving into it like Simon?
I'm going to put it out there right now. I don't remember most of these people's names. I'm not sure if they're secret agents or ex-Marines or just...
I understand that context.
Or just party goers or what, but...
That's the biggest similarity it has with Venom. You know, you see these characters, they're annoying, and then you forget about them.
This is Venom if everybody knew how to use a gun.
Yeah, very effectively.
Yeah, they're doing karate and guns, and these people are here for a fucking rave? What are we talking about here? Who the fuck said this was okay?
This movie opens with 2 white guys who look exactly the same, who have different names, but throughout the film you can't really tell them apart. I believe it's Simon and Greg?
Simon and Garfunkel.
Sure. And it opens with, like, the worst narration I think I've ever heard.
Well, see, this is the part where I was like, okay, that kind of sounds like the game. But that's not a good thing.
No.
It made me think of, like, the opening of an episode of Burn Notice. It's like Michael giving the fucking explanation of what they're going to be doing this episode.
Yeah, we're getting narration from someone we don't know, about people we don't know, about things we don't care about, and he's trying to tell us as if it's... He's doing it all morose and dramatic. He's like, if they hadn't gotten that boat, and my friends would still be alive.
But this guy's supposed to be a geneticist.
Is he?
You have to read the Wikipedia, okay? Because he's not in this movie.
I had no idea. I thought he was just a guy.
I'm going to just say this real quick. Curian we find out at the very end of the movie that his last name is Curian, and his name is Rudy Curian, all right? Curian, his name is Roy Curian, and he is the bad guy from the first House of the Dead who basically creates these zombies and these monsters.
And they drop that name because they reference G2, and they reference both those names, and they do it as if you're supposed to stand up and go, "That's that guy," and throw your hat to the ground and act all shocked. And
G and Rogan are actually in this movie at the end.
yeah, again, names you're supposed to jump up and go, "Oh my god, it's those people," but there's no characters in the House of the Dead games except for side characters you run across. The people you play as don't have backgrounds, they don't have traits, there's no development, you just point and shoot.
No, they're agents and they're trying to solve a mystery or something. And, there's civilians you save. And that's pretty much it. You just make it.
Yeah, civilians who thrust themselves into the line of fire frequently, just like Virtua Cop.
Right. And Kyrian throws big monsters at you, and that's it.
But here he's a raver who knows how to use a weapon, is apparently a geneticist.
I guess it's not even the same guy.
Yeah, I don't understand the name change.
The movie opens with this voiceover, like you said, and it has like them at this fucking rave.
Well, the movie opens with these people getting on a boat to go to the rave that we're being told about, that other people are at. So we spend a gratuitous amount of time with these 4 to 5 nobodies. There's Simon, Greg, Alicia, who is dressed in a certain way only to be what I describe as booberific.
You're telling me, Jesus.
And then I think the other girl's name was Karma, and then Cynthia?
Cynthia. But Greg calls her Sin the entire time.
Yeah, Cynthia is an empty-headed, dumb blonde stereotype who just giggles and throws her legs in the air all the time. And then they miss their boat to the rave, so then they run into Clint Howard and the captain from Dust Boot.
Let me tell you something about this scene. Clint Howard's the best because he looks like the fucking Gorton's fisherman with like a fucking hook hand.
Yeah, he's full on like mariner, yellow fucking fishing attire.
He's just like, "Hi, how you doing? You want to get on the boat? Come on, I'm going to introduce you to the captain. Are you sure you want to go, Sonny? What, do you got corn cobs in your ears? I asked you a question. Hey, why do you want to go to this island?"
Well, and then they pull out this fucking postcard that they got, because I guess they got an invitation to this rave, and it looks like the fucking postcard out of Frisky Dingo that says, "Welcome to Doom."
Welcome to You Are Doom.
Why is Doom in quotes? Is it implied?
Is it an ironic Doom?
Yeah, it's this really bad postcard that just says "Gathering," and they're just like, "We gotta make it to this fucking thing. We gotta get to this rave. It's the hottest thing in town."
But normally, I don't think raves are held on
desolate islands.
Well, clearly the only people that made it to this rave were the dumbest of the dumb, because there's about 30 people there, and that's no rave I've ever seen.
These people are so pissed that they missed the boat. They're like, "Oh man, I missed the boat."
There's a few character traits spun between them, but for the life of me, I can't remember what they are. I think one of them's rich.
Or, I guess.
Yeah, well, clearly Simon's rich, because the second that they can't get on the boat, he starts breaking out Daddy's money.
Okay, so the Captain Kirk, Hardy fucking har.
That's his actual fucking name, everybody.
Jurgen Prochnow, and it's like, dude, this is Sutter Kane himself. What the fuck are you doing in a Uwe Boll movie?
Yep.
Yeah, and he walks up, and Greg goes, "Huh, what's with the U-boat captain?"
Oh my god, I missed that joke. Holy shit.
Yeah, oh, that's really funny.
Also, you made fun of Das Boot. How dare you? That's my dad's favorite movie.
Well, before they leave, like, they're kind of haggling with this guy. It cuts to the rave, where you see, like, these 30 people fucking dancing around. There's a stage. There's like a person up there DJing, and there's just like this character that you later find out named Liberty, just like with her tits hanging out. And there's this huge fucking Sega banner over everything.
Yes!
A Sega banner. It's so egregious. Like,
I can't believe Sega signed off on this. They were like, "Yeah, sure. We'll let you make the movie."
I think Sega's seen enough hard times where someone's like, "We want to make a movie based on one of your properties," and they're like, "Hot dog, this is it."
Yeah, who's going to the rave? Look, boobs. And then there's the Sega sign right behind it. You can't miss it.
Well, to make it even worse, they immediately cut to these two characters of this girl and this guy, Matt, and she's like on the phone with her boyfriend or something, and she's like, Oh, the connection's going bad. Oh, I'm sorry, babe. I'll see you later.
You mean they slam cut to the opening of Jaws?
Oh, straight up.
Because that's exactly what this scene was. It was copied wholesale.
This reminds me of Anthropophagus, right in the middle.
Oh my god.
It's the same thing. Like, they're on the beach. It's a dude on the beach with this girl, and he's like, "I'm not going in the water. It's too cold." And she's like, "All right, fuck you. I'm going in." And then he has one beer and passes out. What the fuck fuck are we doing?
There's a lot of people drinking 1 or 2 beers and being incredibly drunk in this movie, and a lot of just random nudity.
For no reason.
There's nudity that doesn't make any sense. Like, when Clint Howard goes below deck to, like, get something, there's Cynthia just topless. We don't know what she's doing. We don't know why she's down there.
Oh, there's a reason for that.
There's totally a reason for that.
So then you got fucking Kirk and Spock, and they're just like, yeah, well, no, we're not going to go to that island. It's where the fucking dinosaurs are. We have no interest in that.
Oh my god, it is the same name.
It's exactly.
Well, they call it the twin deaths in the Lost World or something like that?
De Cinco Muertes, which is the 5 deaths.
Yeah, this is the Isla del Morte, which is just island of death. And that's where you basically have the scene where Simon's just kind of like, no, we're going to this fucking rave, and he starts breaking out the money, and he's like, how much? He's like, what about 300? And Kirk's just like, make it 6.
And he's like, that's crazy. All right, here's a G. And I'm like, you're giving this motherfucker $1,000 to drive you to some shitty rave on a shitty island.
And he already said he'd do it for 600. Why are you throwing this guy another 400 bones?
Well, because Uwe Boll doesn't know how to write anything.
Because he's a fucking idiot.
He doesn't understand how people communicate or talk.
Then this cop starts coming up to the dock and is like, hey Kirk, we need to do an inspection. He's like, shit. She's like running up with her partner or whatever. We're not really running, but she's like just coming up on them. And Simon, being this brave dude for this part for some reason, is just like, well, how much money would I have to give you to get us out of here? And he's like, oh, is it Ben Franklin talking or Alexander Hamilton? And he hands him like $200, and he's like, okay, and he pulls away. And I'm sitting there thinking, like, it only cost you an extra couple $100 to create a federal crime? Okay.
Not only that, but like, okay, again, you're paying like $1,200 for this asshole to take you across the lake or the channel to this fucking shitty rave. What is the big deal with this thing?
So, yeah, they commit a federal crime and then speed off towards this island. I guess Casper is aware that this fucking Captain Kirk is a smuggler of some sort.
Casper, by the way. Fuck.
Yes. Officer Casper.
Officer Casper of the other MacGyvers. Whatever the fuck that means.
There's the scene that, Joe, you started talking about. Cynthia basically like just sitting in the bottom of the boat, and Clint Howard walks in because Greg gets seasick and fucking barfs all over the place.
Oh my god, that's right.
He fucking mouth beams on this chick's chest. And she's got to go clean it in the sink. That's why her tits are out.
While he's barfing, the other unassuming white dude is like, oh man, you're sick, have a beer.
Yeah, he's like, come on, man, this will make you feel better.
The beginning of what will be an endless string of toilet humor that never gets off the ground.
No. Oh my god. And like literal toilet humor.
Clint Howard has like kind of made the point to both the captain and now to Cynthia, who he like walks in while she's changing, that he doesn't want to go to this island, bad juju there. He basically hands her across and is like, use this for protection, which, wouldn't have done jack, but clearly he knows something's fucked up at this place.
I forgot he did that because it fucking never pans out.
Yeah, but she goes, we already have condoms. And I'm like, oh, that's funny. Nope.
So they get to this island, and the rave site is deserted, everything's smashed up, and no one reacts to well, except the one character Alicia does. She's the only one asking questions.
So it looks like Rawhead Rex fucking ran through there.
It looks like the fucking trailer park afterwards. These guys are like, oh man, I can't wait to get me some beer. I hope they got some mixers, because I can't drink Bud Light all night.
Yeah, no one is asking where the other ravers are, where their friends are, what happened to the people who were supposedly at this event. They just settle in.
There was only 13 people there anyway. Can we talk about the transitions? Because every fucking transition from front to back is footage from the game.
I think I read there's like 90 some odd shots of video game footage in this movie.
I believe it.
That is a staggering amount. I think it's like 36 is used in the first, 10, 15 minutes alone.
But why? Do we not know? Did we not know that we bought a ticket to House of the Dead? Why the fuck do I need to see the game footage?
And it just shoots back and forth between 1, 2, and 3. You see footage from 1, then it's 3, then it's 1 again, then it's 2, and then it's 3. There's no rhyme or reason for it. It's just there because.
Yeah, it just made me think of old 90s, early 2000 TV sitcoms that would have those wacky transitions in between each scene because they didn't know how to end it.
They're in there because Uwe Boll was making a video game movie, and this is how he basically looks at the medium.
Yeah, pro tip, don't use actual game footage in your movie.
Especially a game like House of the Dead, which at this point in 2003 was almost a decade old.
If this asshole was going to make this movie, how come there is no POV anything?
Yeah, at the very least, Doom did that, and that's probably the most interesting thing about the movie.
No, but that's what I'm saying. Like, that actually kind of would have upped it a little bit.
No, instead you get this weird shit where the camera pans around the character as they fire a gun.
Uwe Boll had just seen The Matrix finally. He's like, this is so fascinating, I have to steal it.
I'm going to do it for 15 minutes straight. Let's see what they think. So then they all split up for whatever reason. And then Greg and Cynthia, go into this tent. And he's like, oh, come on, babe. It's time for humpity bumpity.
Oh, my. Yes, he did say that.
Well, that was right after also it started to rain. And he goes, oh, we better get inside. Don't want to get wet. And she's like, too late.
Oh, my Christ. Why? It's so funny. And I'm we're laughing. We're slapping our fucking knees and we're rolling on the floor.
The last time I watched this movie was in theaters when it came out, because when it was coming out, I was like, hey, what can I lose? Apparently 2 hours is what I could lose.
Everything. Your whole life.
When I walked in, there was 3 people. It was me and a couple. By the time the film was over, it was just me.
Was it this scene fucking made him walk out?
I have no idea. I didn't hear them leave, probably because I was just dumbfounded by what was happening.
I wish I could leave, but I needed to watch the whole thing tonight.
Well, he's getting up on top of Cynthia, and then he's like, hold on a second. I gotta pee. And instead of just going outside and going next to a tree and coming right back, he looks for a fucking Johnny on the spot.
No, not even that. Okay, hold on. First I thought that he didn't have a condom or something. She was like, wait, hold on, you don't have a condom. And he's like, nah, I gotta piss. And he stands up and he's like, hold on, I gotta piss real quick. And he's gonna piss right in the fucking tent. And he's like, oh, hold on, babe, I'm just gonna go outside and piss. And then he goes into a fucking porta potty.
This is where our zombies finally show up, aren't they?
Yeah, this is where the only character with any kind of reason is killed off.
Yes, because they go through the tent and Cynthia's lying there and it's all this fucking fart cuts and all that fucking, all that shit that was big in the 2000s where it's all that shaky cam, fast cut bullshit.
Let the record be shown that when I said the only character with any sense left, I was not talking about Cynthia, the dumbest character in the movie. I was talking about our boy Clint Howard.
Oh, is this where he dies?
Yeah. As he just moves these boxes into the woods in the middle of the night.
Why didn't they leave?
That the whole thing was he was running from Casper because he was doing illegal weapon trading or something. And now that he's on the island, Clint Howard wants to leave. And he's like, wait, I found a spot on the island that we could store our shit. And then we'll kind of hang low for a few days and then get out of here.
By the way, Casper was following them. Boy, she's timely because she's nowhere to be fucking found.
Until there's zombies.
Yeah, conveniently, until she has to pull out a gun.
Or I guess.
Kirk's standing on the fucking boat just smoking a cigar, twiddling his thumbs, and he's got fucking Clint out there. Mind you, we didn't mention his name yet, and it's not going to matter because he's almost going to be dead anyway, but his name's Salish. Salish? What the fuck is it?
You're fucking Salish there, sweetheart.
He's immediately murdered by Walt Disney's Haunted Mansion zombies. Because that's how bad they look. Then Cynthia dies, is that correct?
Yes.
They surround her tent and go all oogie boogie on her and start putting their shadows against the side and then start rattling it for spooky effects.
Well, they're just giving her the humpity bumpity.
The fucking humpity bumpity. Fuck this shit.
Is this where the other half of survivors meet the rest of the cast, including the girl named Liberty with a fucking American flag onesie with her boobs hanging out?
Yeah.
Also, probably one of the least offensive characters in the film. Granted, I'm still pretty sure she was one of the ones with her boobs hanging out in the beginning.
She is the only character who seems... you don't know anything about her, but she's almost immediately capable of kicking ass and taking names and is very proficient in combat.
I think she's a sleeper agent. I think all of these people are sleeper agents because they all know fucking karate or they all know, yes, right? They all know martial arts and how to use a fucking gun efficiently. And we're fucking getting bullseyes on these fucking zombies' heads and everybody's very confident with their weapons and in hand-to-hand with a fucking knife.
So this is they all meet up at the campsite, I believe, and this is when Cynthia shows up as a zombie, and this is also where Casper is introduced, isn't it?
Well, they introduce these 3 other characters, and the one guy immediately is murdered by Cynthia.
Oh, that's right, the doofus with the he broke my glasses.
Yeah. When they first go into the mansion, basically like these 3 new characters, Liberty, Rudy, and Hugh, they kind of attack them because they think they're zombies, and then Alicia kind of like backhands Hugh and breaks his glasses. Which doesn't matter because 5 minutes later he gets killed by Cynthia anyway.
Oh, that's right. This is the exposition dump where they tell him, "Oh, these things attack the rave and blah 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 blah."
Yeah, and he's like, haven't you ever seen a George Romero movie? Duh.
One of the girls is like,
What's that? And he's like, Dawn of the Night of the Living Dead, Dawn of the Dead, Day of the Dead. Maybe he'll make Twilight of the Dead one day. You know what? Fuck you, okay? We're in the middle of a zombie situation, and you're talking about George Romero. Like,
how dare you bring up the good movies in the middle of this bad one?
Yeah, well, I'd rather be watching any of those. I'd even watch Land of the Dead or Island of the Dead. What is that? Island of the Dead, where they train the zombies to eat the fucking horses? That was a pile of shit.
Speaking of a pile of shit, this is where they find Greg in the Porta-John knocked over.
He literally has Porta-John shit chemical all over his body.
Well, they're like inspecting his fucking underwear or whatever the hell they're doing. Hugh just gets killed by Cynthia immediately.
He breaks his neck. Why?
I don't know, but this is the first time that Joe Lascola met Casper, because I did not see her in the other scenes. And I'm like, who the fuck is this woman? So then shit happens, and then they're like, oh my god, we gotta get off this island. And they're like, okay, let's go back to Captain Kirk's ship. And poor Jurgen's on the ship, and he's like, we have like 5 or 6 minutes of him just like shooting zombies.
He's like casually walking around this boat with a cigar.
The movie just becomes several long
B-roll. It becomes B-roll cut together.
It just becomes long, boring, uneventful action sequences. I wouldn't call them uneventful, but they're unimportant. Overlong action sequences where you're just like, okay, I get it. Like they get to the boat and like zombies just kind of storm in from behind trees.
Well, they swim into the fucking boat.
There's a lot of shots, especially the underwater ones with the bullets. I'm like, yeah, UV was just like, get the ones under the water, because it's fun.
That is the most puzzling shot in the movie. Like, it's just a slam cut to a zombie underwater getting hit with bullets. I'm like, okay, I get it. Why is this here?
So Simon's like, I'm gonna go jump on the ship and see if Jurgen's on there. And they're like, no, don't go. And Greg audibly says, don't go in the war.
It's also implied that Kirk isn't in the fucking boat anymore.
No, he's on the fucking hill with like a machine gun.
They just mysteriously cut to him with a fucking military-grade assault rifle with like a grenade launcher and a green laser dot on it.
He's got like incendiary grenades and a fucking green laser coming. Like, what the fuck? What are we doing?
Well, Simon's swimming forever, man. And then Liberty just, for some reason, I don't know when she got this weapon. She pulls a knife out, and maybe she had it from when they first met her, but she runs into the water, and then she just immediately gets grabbed.
She goes, Simon! And this woman runs into the water with a knife.
I don't know why does she care about this dude?
I mean, I guess she's a human being.
Again, is she a sleeper agent? Is she's trained in martial arts, I guess, or something? Or like hand-to-hand combat? And then fucking Jurgen's on the ridge, and Greg's like, shoot the fucking zombies! And he's like,
I'm trying to do that, you fucking idiot. And proceeds to miss a few more times before finally hitting one in the head, I believe. And then one he gets bitten, right?
He gets bit, yeah. And then fucking Liberty makes it out, and they all make it out onto the shore.
And then they get on Jurgen's boat, and they get the fuck out of there, right?
No, that's not what happens.
No. No, not at all.
You know what we do? We kick a fucking zombie in the stomach and then get acid barf in their face. That's what happens.
I can't with this fucking scene or this movie because this is so stupid. One, this thing sprays him all over the head and chest with this acid spit that all of a sudden zombies can do. Didn't know they were xenomorphs.
Also, apparently, like, alcohol is the universal medicine because Jurgen gets bit on his arm, and fucking Rudy's like, oh, here, come here, give me that liquor. And he pours it on his fucking wound. Fine. Okay, you want to disinfect it? Fine, whatever. It's a bite. Then he's like pouring the alcohol on like a rag, and he's putting it on the guy's face that just got burnt with the acid spit.
I would fucking punch someone if they came at my burned face with an alcohol
You
rag.
do not put that on an acid burn victim, okay?
No, you don't put one chemical onto another chemical. What the fuck's wrong with you?
No, and I'm surprised I didn't burn all the way through to his fucking brain.
It just sears his jaw off. So, is this where they go discover that Captain Kirk is a weapons smuggler?
Yeah, Cuban cigars and fucking airsoft guns.
So I guess they have this little powwow, and Kirk shows them these weapons, and everyone literally locks and loads in a silly-ass montage where they're equipping grenades, they're pumping shotguns, they've got dual machine guns and Desert Eagles.
Oh yeah, and then meanwhile, this unimportant piece of information happens. Greg's killed.
Oh no, we have to talk about his death sequence because this is the funniest thing I've ever seen. Everybody gets a fucking video game cutscene death where they're killed, and then to remind us they are indeed dead, it cuts to a spinning camera shot of the character with a pained expression on their face, and the screen fades to red, as if the words "you died" are supposed to follow it.
Casper goes to try to find help. Again, not taking the boat that's right there for some odd reason. She's like, Greg, come with me. And he's like, why me? She's like, are you injured? No. Can you walk? Yeah. She's like, then you're coming with me.
You can shoot a gun, here you go.
So the zombies start chasing him, and he immediately, fucking drops the gun and just runs and tries to hide like the fucking Hobbit is trying to hide from the Nazgul.
Don't put the ring on, Greg.
Mushrooms!
And then he comically walks away and steps on a fucking stick.
Yeah, the loudest stick in the history of any sound whatsoever, because it sounds like a baseball bat breaking. And then he's immediately set upon and killed. But you don't see anything, because this movie cuts away from most of the zombie kills.
The backstory. Here's the lore dump.
Oh, this is where we got our lore dump? About, what the hell was this guy's name?
I do not remember. He is a conquistador. He was exiled from Spain, and we get this fucking shitty flashback sequence. So there's this captain on the ship, and there's this bad guy, and he's chained up.
This captain is a fucking moron, by the way.
Yeah, why would you walk up to a dangerous prisoner?
He's like, come closer to me, Captain. I want to see your face.
I'm gonna eat your fucking neck. But he just chokes him and kills him. But this bad guy is essentially like the Spanish Herbert West, and then he crashes on this island and finalizes his serum or something. He's like, oh, I got it to work. I'm going to be invincible. I'm going to live forever. And they try to hang him, and he doesn't die. He's like Rasputin almost.
So we get our lore dump, and now we go to the most exhausting, overlong, stupid, insipid action sequence I have ever laid eyes on.
I was checking my watch.
You want to tell us about the music, Connor?
Oh, for fuck's sake. Okay. There is this obnoxious rap rock song that's the lyrics are like, I am Fury, House of the Dead.
Yes, that's exactly it. And I'm like, okay, so we have a rap rock song that's literally about this House of the Dead movie.
And it's playing on what has to be a loop because this action sequence is 10 minutes long. It goes from 48 minutes to 58 minutes. I checked.
And it starts with all the characters lined up like they're the fucking Expendables. Like they're some important group of people, and they just start unloading on every zombie. Like they don't really even try to shoot them in the head. They're just unloading because they have rocket launchers and shit. But for some reason, Liberty's still axe kicking them in the face.
This sequence is like giving everybody in the band a solo.
It feels like an agonizingly long amount of time because nothing happens. They just stand there and are immediately, like we've said 1,000 times, they're immediately deadly proficient with all these weapons I'm sure they've never handled before. They switch weapons in between shots and then go back to the original weapon a shot later. And there are so many spinning camera shots in this sequence alone. It's fucking dizzying.
We are getting our money's worth with the high-speed camera that rotates around our actors because goddamn.
Yes, people are jumping, what is that? The Alicia character. This is the she jumps 15 feet into the air. She fires a shotgun, and we follow in slow motion this buckshot spray break apart and hit a zombie who has somersaulted into the air for some reason.
This fucking zombie!
He somersaults in with an axe and throws it at her, and the fucking shotgun shells just burst and go around the axe and hit him, and somehow the axe just misses her by like an inch.
By the way, you can see the platform the guy jumps off of in the shot he jumps on.
Right here. This is where I checked out of this fucking piece of shit. I was like, you know what? Fuck you. That's enough. That is enough. This has been 20 minutes of this fucking horse shit, and now we're doing this at the end.
And no one's moving with any sense of urgency. Like, they're just walking. And these zombies just keep reappearing.
Yeah, Liberty just keeps kicking them.
Yeah, she's standing still, doing martial arts to zombies in a little circle for some reason.
She's like kicking them in the eye and like digging the heel into their fucking brain.
Yeah, the camera keeps spinning around her, the camera spins around Casper, the camera spins around Kirk, the camera spins around Rudy, and this just goes on and on.
That's what I'm saying. Everybody gets their solo.
The best one though is Kirk's when they do the fucking the spin around on him. He's got this fucking grenade launcher and he just is like he's like Arnold Schwarzenegger with the cigar, and he just fires this fucking thing, and it just blows a zombie up. It's like the only gory shot in the whole film.
There are trampolines visible that people are jumping off of. There are wires you can see attached to zombies. Like I said, there's platforms seen where people can jump off of. There are continuity errors left and right. This is... Not only is it boring, it's so fucking sloppy and incompetent.
Well, then you have this scene where Liberty finally like does 1X kick too many and gets taken out by a bunch of zombies, and it fucking zooms in on Rudy and his fucking Sharagon awakens, and another montage happens.
Oh my god! Oh my god!
She dies, and instead of running up to save her, Rudy stops, stands still, looks sad, and lowers his head.
Meanwhile, Casper's getting like killed on the side.
I just sat through 20 minutes of fucking garbage montage, and now I'm going to have 3 minutes of it played back to me in fast motion.
We just watched it.
Like, it's only been 10 seconds since it happened.
I mean, honestly, I make a Naruto joke, but that's what they would do in Naruto. They'd show you a scene, something crazy would happen, and then they'd have the flashback to that scene, so it's pretty on par.
Yeah, but that's not what we're doing here. This is a fucking House of the Dead movie.
And then they're at the steps of this fucking house for what feels like an hour, just again popping zombies off left and right. Liberty dies, nobody cares, and they're finally inside, are they not?
Yeah, the only other thing to note is Casper gets her fucking legs bitten off.
Oh my god,
and then,
yeah, that's
Rudy
right.
still pulls her through a window. And then, like, the two couples, because it's implied earlier in the film that Rudy...
Oh, that's right. Rudy and Alicia are exes.
Yeah, and then now, like, apparently Karma had a fucking crush on Simon, and now that they all think they're gonna die, like, these two couples go off and do their thing. Meanwhile, Kirk's, like, laid out on a fucking table, like, trying not to die.
Yeah, he's like, can I have a drink? And he's like, here you go. And he's like, I thought you were gonna give me liquor, but okay, I'll drink the water.
They find this laboratory, and they start looking around. This place hasn't been fucking dusted ever.
No, and I'm thinking to myself, like, okay, so this conquistador is still alive. Don't you want to clean up the joint just a little bit? I mean, you leave your laboratory in shambles? What the fuck's wrong with you? So they get there, and Rudy, like, finds a microscope, an old-ass microscope, P.S., and he looks through it, and he's like, the blood cells. And who's standing there with him? Sophia?
I think it's Alicia.
Sophia, I think, is the name of the character from the game.
Oh, yeah. Yes, because because she's supposed to be Sophia, but she's Alicia. Okay.
Sophie!
Who is fucking Rogan's wife, or fiance. Anyway, Kaplooey. So he's standing there, and he's like, oh, it's blood. You see this blood? And she's like, really? And he's like, yeah, look at it. It's mutating. What's all this shit?
And she's like, why? You're getting pretty excited about this. Are you okay, Rudy? And he just, like, wipes his forehead. He's like, oh, nothing. Forget about that for now.
I'm not a villain.
He's like, it's fucking genius.
Yeah, this is the only kind of foreshadowing that he may become a madman. Also, at this point in the movie, I still didn't know he was a geneticist, so I was like, how do you know you're looking at blood? How do you know you're looking at human blood? How do you know it's mutated?
That's exactly what I'm talking about. And I'm like, okay, we find out that he's a Curian at the end, and I guess he's supposed to be the Curian, but all the shit that's happened is basically what happens in the first House of the Dead. So he's not doing the experiments this fucking conquistador is.
Yeah, he stole his work.
Yeah, that's basically what this is. Anyway,
So Kirk's laying in this fucking, on this table while everyone else is getting their fucking thing on. He hears whistling and he's like, oh, it's Salish. And he fucking hobbles out of this position. He's like barely can walk, and he pulls the board off the door and he goes out there and it's Salish, but he's like a fucking zombie and he's like, oh. And he shoots him in the head, but he like misses. He shoots him in the head like the fucking dwarf gets shot in Dungeons and Dragons. It like skims the top of his fucking head so he doesn't die immediately.
He gets shot like Brown Tom, and he's like, oh, goblins shot me through my brain pan. And it was just the elderberry wine. Anyway, yeah, so he fucking goes to shoot him. He doesn't die, and then he's like, oh, everybody get back inside. I'm a zombie now, so I'm gonna like just dynamite and blow the fuck out of everybody.
Yeah, just blows himself up, causes massive damage to the front of the house. This is where you see the laboratory. And the laboratory sequence, they look at this, like, red fish tank or whatever. It's like this tank full of fucking fluid.
Yeah, what the fuck? It looks like Creatures from the Abyss or, like, Swamp Thing. And this fucking, like, little monster swimming around in there. He's like, oh my god, don't touch it. And then he shoots the fucking glass out. And I'm like, why would you do that? Like, it's contained.
And it wakes up all the sleeping dead people in the room.
And then Simon runs up and slam dunks a fucking beaker into one's head.
Yeah, and he's like, it's the blood, it's bringing them back.
Then they start to try to escape, and there's like this little side room, like a room in between the lab and where the rest of the house is.
Yep, we get into this little room, and there's like gunpowder, and he's like, oh, gunpowder. And he's like, and she's like, wait, we can use that, right? And he's like, no. So then Simon gets grabbed, and he's like, go on without me. And they leave, and he shoots the fucking...
a slow fucking motion bullet.
Oh my god, we're doing bullet time like crazy in this, because we follow every fucking bullet that's shot out of every fucking gun. This bullet hits the gunpowder barrel, and it explodes, and they run outside.
Well, it doesn't just explode. The whole fucking mansion goes up.
They're going down this abandoned mine railroad track, and it's Karma and Rudy and... Not Sophia. What's her name?
Alicia.
It's Sophia. Anyway, so they're walking down this track, and there's like one person in front that has bullets, and they're shooting all the zombies, and then he's like, shit, I'm out. And all the while, we're cutting between the fucking video game and them shooting the zombies, and it's just like, god damn it, can we stop doing this?
They use video game footage in place of showing zombies getting shot.
Oh yeah, because we ran out of budget at this point. That's why we're breaknecking through this shit. So Karma is like at the front of the line. She's got her 2 guns. Anyway, these fucking zombies come out of the walls and fucking kill her. And then Rudy and Alicia are saved by Greg, and he has like a fucking...
He has a fucking Count of Monte Cristo cape on.
He has a Count of Monte Cristo cape and a fucking rapier, and he fucking stabs this zombie, and he's like, come with me. Come with me.
He's got a big old fucking like Spanish sword.
And he's like, come into my laboratory with me.
To like your laboratory? Well, okay, Greg, if you say so.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, obviously something's fucking not right. So basically, this conquistador, this guy that we've been talking about that has been able to reanimate himself for years and years, has stolen Greg's face and put it on.
This really is fucking Naruto, man. It's freaking Orochimaru.
So Rudy's like strapped to this table. So Castillo walks up to Alicia and he's like, I like your skin. It's mine. And then Rudy like breaks free from the zombies, even though they're like way stronger than he is. He like throws acid in one of their faces, and then they like break free. They escape Castillo and his zombies, and they drop a fucking grenade and they run outside, and then it blows up. And then fucking and then Castillo comes out with a fucking sword, and he sword fights Alicia.
And she's the only character whose defensive background makes sense, because earlier in the movie, in that horrible narration, Rudy's like, she likes fencing. I don't know why. It makes her happy.
They cut the scene when all the other characters were talking about their gun training.
She has a fucking full-on Conan the Barbarian sword fight with this asshole. They're fucking clanging and banging, and Rudy has been, I don't know, he tripped and fell unconscious or something. He's just completely indisposed. And then the fucking villain just overpowers Alicia and just stabs her right between the boobs.
And then Rudy gets up and cuts this fucking guy's head off with an axe, and the body attacks him. He's like fucking, again, this is like the end of Reanimator.
Except there's no Dr. What's-His-Face going, yes, sir.
Yeah, he starts choking him. He's like, West. David Gale was like, oh, where's my royalties? Alicia gets up and stabs this fucking thing.
Well, she steps on it.
Oh, she steps on his head.
She steps on his head. It's the goriest shot in the movie. It's probably the most impressive gory shot in the movie, because she steps in this dude's head and, like, his eyeball flies out and fucking red stuff everywhere.
And he's like, well, I was able to keep myself alive all these years, but I didn't say that my body didn't deprecate.
Yeah, well, he's all stitched together. He looks like fucking Robert De Niro and Mary Shelley's Frankenstein.
Oh my god.
So Castillo's dead, and Rudy's there with fucking Alicia's corpse, and then a fucking helicopter comes in, and it's G and Rogan from the fucking video game. And they're like, hey, what happened here? And he's like, nothing. I'm going to take my dead wife with me. See ya.
Oh, no, she's alive now, because it's implied that he took her in the house and experimented on her.
And she's just, like, hanging on to him, and she's like, I don't feel okay. He's like, shut up.
Rudy Lee, Curian, now, he's revealed that he's Curian.
And we're supposed to give a shit.
Yeah, we're supposed to fucking care, but we don't. And it's like, okay, so now you're going to make the magician? I guess so. So he takes Alicia and goes to New York, and he's like, I will see what I can do with my love, and we'll do experiments or something somewhere else.
Yeah, surprise. Surprise, I'm a bad guy now.
Fuck this movie.
That's it. No, fuck this movie. I hate this movie so much. And like I said, I hadn't rewatched it ever.
This is the first time I've sat and watched through the whole thing.
It is somehow way more appalling than I remember.
Last time I said this, it was about Dungeons and Dragons, and I was like, you know what? I fucking hate this movie. It's detestable. I never want to watch it again. I would watch Dungeons and Dragons on loop before you get me to watch this fucking movie again.
I honestly think this is the worst thing we've watched so far, and it's not just because it's a bad movie. It's because I think through everything we watched, good or bad, there's a semblance of good intentions and sincerity. Because even Courtney Solomon was director of Dungeons & Dragons.
Yeah.
He was a big fan of Dungeons & Dragons. This was a paycheck for Uwe Boll, and there's no sincerity, there's no soul, there's no substance. This movie is a disposable piece of shit.
This is everything that defines the horror genre now. And I cannot stand it. The people that don't give a shit about horror, that love horror, if that makes sense, watch this movie and they're like, you know what, this is great. There's zombies and they're blowing up and it's awesome. And I'm like, you know what, this is the stain on the fucking zombie genre, okay? Or on the horror genre as a whole.
But you're talking about the people that are in the theater and are like making jokes in it and are like pissing off the people that are actually there to enjoy the film are gonna like this movie.
I'm saying these are the kind of movies that are made and everybody doesn't take the horror genre seriously. And they're like, yeah, it's supposed to be shit. And it's like, no, it's not supposed to be shit.
Right.
I can agree to that. I mean, there's a lot of those, but the reason this is just kind of floats above the top because it was based on a semi-popular video game, and Uwe Boll has become this name synonymous with low-quality shit.
So as far as where this movie goes in the dumpster, for me, this is way near the bottom.
As I said, I would give Uwe Boll his own dumpster because his quality, his recognizable subpar quality of filmmaking is like a brand of its own.
Yeah, you know what? This will go in the landfill at Munich. This is where this goes. Okay? And it can fucking stay there for the rest of eternity, because I don't need it.
I wouldn't give this the benefit of putting it in our fucking dumpster, so it goes in the Uwe Boll dumpster, which is just, it's filled with nothing but his movies, because they're all trash anyway.
I feel like he has a planet somewhere where he's like, I watch my movies all day long.
He probably watches them in the restaurant he owns in Vancouver. That's apparently not a bad place to go.
It's probably awesome because he doesn't actually run it. You think this guy masturbates to his own movies?
Wow, I don't think I can answer that.
Because I think so.
Joe, I have to say, no movie we watched so far has brought this level of fucking resentment out of you. So
I am completely appalled. I fucking hate this shit so much.
The last couple movies, I feel like I keep like going deeper and deeper and deeper into this fucking dumpster. I feel like I need to like hold myself back a little after seeing this film.
It kind of puts everything else in perspective when you watch something that's truly this abysmal.
Yeah, I mean, I've talked about burying movies under the dumpster. I've talked about launching movies into the fucking sun. I mean, this movie's not good enough for that. I agree with the Uwe Boll dumpster to his own. That's kind of an appealing place to put it. But for all fairness, it's in the dumpster. It's in the corner, like a few other films I've said have been in the corner, but the difference here is it's like caked in diarrhea and used gum. So it's like a really hard, like used gum that came out of someone's ass as part of the diarrhea. Like it was in their system for 20 years and it all just came out at once. And it just landed on this movie in the dumpster. Because that's, someone really had to go. They didn't have a porta-john like Greg to hide in. They just had to get that out of their system. And that's where this movie is.
Someone dumped a really loaded baby diaper into this dumpster and it landed conveniently on Uwe Boll's movie.
I mean, that's as far as I can put it down without drilling a fucking hole into the dumpster and putting it next to Monster in the Closet and Dungeons and Dragons, which I can't believe I'm actually saying this about these two films, but they are superior to something.
That's what I'm saying. I'd rather watch both of those films over and over again before I watch this again.
So this movie has no legacy. It left no footprint except for how terrible it is. And unfortunately, it took way too long for Uwe Boll to finally fucking pack it up and stop making movies.
Yeah, but it put a lot of money in Uwe's pocket, and that's it.
That means it's an evil, horrible thing, and it should be destroyed.
I don't want to talk about Uwe Boll for a while. I know that he's going to come up again, but for now, we're going to put him to rest. So that's it. That's House of the Dead from 2003, directed by Uwe Boll. If you want some more bad movie goodness, you can check us out at MovieDumpsterPodcast.com. Follow us at Movie Dumpster on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Also check out our sister podcast, The Phantom Zone, hosted by our very own Connor McGraw. You can find them at phantomzonepodcast.wordpress.com. I'm Joel Escola.
I'm Sean O'Rourke.
I'm Connor McGraw.
Thanks for visiting the dumpster.
It's blood.
Is blood?
Yeah, but it's not human though. It's like it's been mutated. I've never seen anything like it before. It's completely unnatural. It's fucking genius.